to answer the question, I think a bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both. Today's video is sponsored by myself. My Twitter. I created a new Twitter solely for Loki related things and my YouTube channel. So if you want to follow me over there, that would be amazing, because I have been tweeting a lot recently about this whole thing and Loki. So it's here if you want to go and follow me and give me a little tweet, say hi. So today's video is, if you haven't guessed, about the relationship between Loki and Sylvie. I have my own thoughts on this, but I wanted to take a look at the relationship in a more critical sense, I guess, and a more unbiased approach, hopefully. I could write a whole essay on this relationship, I realised, and I feel that just shows how well it's been put together and how well the writers have constructed the characters and the dynamic of the relationship. Also, just so many questions left unanswered, and we want to see where this relationship goes and where it's heading. Therefore, we're going to go back and watch the next episode. And even if you weren't a fan of the whole Silky thing, you're probably going to go back and watch it because you want to see, are they going to actually make these two have a romantic relationship? If we look at what one of the writers, Eric Martin, had tweeted out, I have a feeling that the answer to that question is yes, they might be going that way. There was also an interview with the writer about this very topic, and yeah, they did say that they were thinking of having them kiss, and that caused the Nexus event, but they just went with a look. And I think that's a more powerful way of portraying their relationship, to be honest, and also keeps us guessing, really, I feel. But so many people online that I have seen and I have spoken to don't want this to happen, are kind of disgusted by it and call it self-cessed, even though I do want to just kind of clarify that Sylvie is Sylvie and Loki is Loki. We can debate all day about whether they are the same person and same DNA, but when you look at the end credit scene, there's a friggin' alligator. Are you telling me that that's the same DNA as Sylvie and Loki? I don't know, the different variants from different timelines, different worlds, dimensions, whatever you want to call it. So self-cessed, I don't know about that word. Let's not use that word anymore, guys. So my first question is, does the journey of self-reflection and acceptance need romance? One does not need to be in a romantic relationship to find themselves. But with Loki, part of his whole character development is finding compassion for himself, but also for others, and accepting others as well as himself. So he needs to, accept that he's not better than everybody else and he's not superior. He is just a normal person like the rest of the universe. And through his relationships that he has created with Sylvie and Mobius, I feel like this is building that character development and helping him move forward on this journey of self-reflection and discovery and self-acceptance. And is this relationship that they're building with Sylvie just a metaphor for self-love and acceptance? But then again, if it is, did it have to be romantic? Like I said, we have the relationship he's built with Mobius, which I actually find more appealing than Sylvie and him. That's just my opinion. I honestly think the dynamic and chemistry between Mobius and Loki is more effective than the one he has with Sylvie. Again, just my opinion. Because we see that it's actually Mobius who has actually changed him. If you actually look at their dynamic and how they've changed during the few episodes, and the fact that they've both called each other a friend. So I feel Mobius has actually had more of an impact on Loki than Sylvie has. And I actually think Loki is actually impacting more on Sylvie and not the other way around, even though Sylvie is obviously impacted on Loki because she showed him that they are actually capable and powerful and they can actually have love. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Mobius and Loki? I also enjoy them together more, and not in a romantic sense at all, but I do enjoy their screen time more than when he's with Sylvie in episode 4. In episode 2 and 3, when they were at each other's throats and just giving each other crap, I enjoyed that because that's pure Marvel and there's comedic value there. I also think the whole dynamic kind of shifted quite quickly. Like, all of a sudden, like, to begin with, they were firstly fighting, and Sylvie was really annoyed with Loki. Like, obviously she's going to be, for obvious reasons, because he destroyed her plan, and now, thanks to him, she's about to die. And all of a sudden, though, she is now in love with him. And I don't get that, and I think they jumped the gun way too quickly with that one. Like, all of a sudden she's changed and been like, oh, actually Loki's really nice. Loki's just nearly killed you. How? Yeah, I don't think that's very strong writing. And I want to just move on to the whole narcissism argument and people saying, well, this is technically Loki's character. Of course he's going to fall in love with himself because he's a narcissist, but Loki has been having this character development throughout the series, and then all of a sudden he's reverted back to falling in love with himself. And yeah, it can be a metaphor again for self-love, but also that's pure, like Mobius says, pure narcissism, or it can come across that way. So does that degrade Loki's character, and Sylvie for that matter, and does that just make them pure narcissists and not very nice people? And I don't like that at all, because the character development they've had, even though Sylvie hasn't had much, and I do feel like they're not really giving her like the benefit of the doubt and not giving her as much. I know the program's called Loki, but you know, is Sylvie simply there to be a romantic interest? As this TikTok user says, is it the female enables the main character trope, which is really outdated, especially after episode 3 where we were talking about their sexuality and their gender. Yeah, it's a very outdated notion that romance will save everything, love will save everything. But then it is a superhero series, and it is Marvel as well as Disney, and we know Disney is all about love saving everything and love will prevail. So, and talking about the narcissism thing, are we, the audience, supposed to feel like Mobius felt when he said that it's a sick and twisted crush you've got on yourself and it is just pure narcissism? Is that how we're supposed to feel, the audience? Even though then Mobius completely changes his mind as well, but he is thinking more along the way of how to take down the TVA, and these two variants of the same person come together. I mean, look what the Nexus event was. It was a straight up line, and it was going to cause some form of, well, maybe some form of calamity. We don't actually know if a Nexus event does create a calamity, but that is something that I personally think should happen. If these two characters were to kiss or become romantic, surely two variants of the same person should never have met. It's completely unnatural. So would that cause a massive catastrophe? And if not, and if there is no consequences of that, again, that would be very poor writing, and I would be quite disappointed. That's my opinion. If these two do get together, do you think there should be consequences? Surely there would be. And would that create the multiverse of madness that we're going to see potentially in Spider-Man, but as well in the new Doctor Strange film? And speaking about the LGBTQ plus representation we had in episode 3, a lot of people are not happy with the fact that it was great in that episode, but then they've gone to a heteronormal relationship, but then again we can argue about biphobia because bisexuals, can date heterosexuals, they can date the different genders, they don't have to date the same gender. That's what being bisexual is about. And also, these two characters are both bisexual and both gender fluid, therefore, is it good representation? What are your thoughts on that? I think if this is pure narcissism and not a metaphor for self-love and acceptance, I think that could be quite bad representation for a community that are constantly questioning their identity and constantly questioning themselves through their sexuality and their gender. So I do think if this is just pure narcissism and this is the first big representation of the LGBTQ plus community in the MCU, that could be quite damaging. And I really hope the writers have not gone that way. So I do hope this is going to be a metaphor for self-love, and it's their coming together will help their identity grow and their character develop, because then it might actually be good representation, goodish representation. I just say this as a pansexual non-binary person. For me, thinking about it, yeah, it's a bit iffy. I don't know how to feel about it, so I just I'll have to wait and see for the next episode. And speaking about the next episode, what the heck's gonna happen between these two? I ask, is this poetic genius? Because it can be seen as a twin flame situation. And if you're not familiar with twin flames, they are basically, in spirituality, you have soulmates, which you can have multiple of, but you also have a twin flame who is destined to be by your side throughout your lifetimes and forever. That does not mean, though, that you will be in a romantic relationship with them. And usually, if you are on this journey of self-discovery and you haven't really found a balance within yourself and your life, coming into contact with your twin flame and building a romantic relationship can actually be incredibly toxic and unstable, because you two are supposed to balance each other out, but you need to find each other at a certain time, on your life path. But when you do meet each other, you may meet each other several times in different lifetimes, and you will help each other, but then depart from one another until you find that balance and can be together. And usually a twin flame would not actually be together in this dimension or this realm. It'll be the afterlife or a different dimension, whatever you believe in. And if we're talking about the MCU, the sacred timeline is not a place where a twin flame would be. And yeah, they would cause chaos. So that way it's quite poetic, and to think of Sylvie and Loki as twin flames, soulmates, doesn't exactly mean romantic and they're going to get married and have a bunch of children. That's not what it means. It means chaos whilst creating balance. It's confusing, and yeah, it's confusing. Yes, this relationship can go so many different ways, and I really do hope that the writers have been intelligent about this and smart about it, because it's incredibly interesting, but could be highly damaging, like I said, to certain communities, and also damaging to Loki's character development and Sylvie's too, where they do keep saying Sylvie is her own person, but you've basically just made her a trope, and she starting to just look like the romantic interest, which doesn't make her her own person, unfortunately, when it comes to writing and filmmaking. It's very stereotypical and obvious. We, when we were going into this series, this is Loki we're talking about. He's not obvious, and we, I think this kind of writing is quite obvious. And as soon as we saw her and they met, I was like, please don't make them a romantic thing, because that is so cliche. But here we are. And like I said, it's not a obvious romantic interest, or it's not an obvious relationship. And I really do hope that they're going to do something like out of this world and extraordinary with it, just because I know for a fact that right now people are not happy with where episode 4 went. Yeah. But that's all well and good and super interesting, but I find something even more interesting. That's your guys' opinions and thoughts. So what are your thoughts on Sylvie? And where do you want them to take it, but where do you also think they're going to take it? Yeah. I'm just praying that they haven't ruined it, and the next 2 episodes are going to be incredible. But we do have Loki and Sylvie pushed apart, and Loki is now with other Loki variants. Thank you for watching, guys, and please don't, I know there's a lot of tension in the Loki fandom right now about this topic, so please do not leave hateful comments about anything, especially the writers and the actors. Don't, okay? You can have your opinions, but you don't have to be hateful and disrespectful. So I'll leave you with that one, guys.